Be cool, be kind, be classy. A cupcake so sweet and sexy. Have fun, enjoy the journey. Just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. Not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade, sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. Is a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Stack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Machegas. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. A cupcake sweet and sassy. Not just a YouTube show. When you know, cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
Good morning. Good morning, my friends. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, December 9th, 2024. And we're here on Verdict Watch for Daniel Penny. We are also, there's some good news this morning. Was it Stoughton District Court? We'll talk about that in a second. Just want to catch you up right now on what is happening. In Daniel Penny, the court was scheduled to reconvene at 10 a.m. And as you recall, on Friday, the jury told the judge a few times that they were hung. The judge gave the jury the Allen charge, which is like the last clear chance. Like, go back, reconvene, see if you can come to a verdict on count number 1, which is second-degree manslaughter. At the end of the day, the Assistant District Attorney Daphne Yoren said to the court, you know what, we're just gonna dismiss count 1, the manslaughter charge, send them back to deliberate only on count 2, which is criminally negligent homicide. The difference between count 1 and count 2 is 11 years. Count 1 carries 15 years in prison. Count 2, 4 years in prison. People are angry. People are angry on both sides of this. Just this morning at 10 a.m., Judge Wiley came into the courtroom in his black robe. Court officer said, "Come to order. Counsel, have a seat." ADA Daphne Yoren was standing in the gallery, looks up and says, "Oh, okay." She's now at the prosecution table. This is according to our fellow on-the-ground court reporter, Inner City Press. Daniel Penny and his lawyers have yet to come in. That was 8 minutes ago. 6 minutes ago, he tweeted, "Daniel Penny and his lawyers come in." The judge says, "There has been a communication since last time we were in session. On Friday, I added an instruction to the jury after saying to consider count 2. I've thought more," he says. The court concluded it would be lawful. This is a little unclear to me. So the court concluded it would be lawful or it wouldn't be lawful. I'm a little confused because he thought more about it. Judge Wiley says, meanwhile, the defense says it wants more instructions. Let me just pull this up for you so I can read it off the screen instead of looking at my second screen. The court concluded that it would be lawful. Oops. Come on now. Come on now. 4 minutes ago, Judge Wiley says, meanwhile, the defense says it wants more instructions. Penny lawyers Daniel Kenneth says, we are moving for a mistrial. We're not going along. We add that the court never ascertained if they were hung on justification, though it can be inferred. He's saying you never asked the jury whether or not they were hung, and we talked about this last week, whether or not they were hung on justification or self-defense, or whether they were hung on some other reason like causation or cause of death. Therefore, according to your own jury instructions or your own verdict slip, if they did not find, if they find it was self-defense, we're going to go over the verdict slip again. If they found it was self-defense on count 1 and decided not guilty on count 1 because it was self-defense, then they were not to move on to count 2, which is criminally negligent homicide. If they found that he was not guilty of count 1 because of some other reason, like cause of death or something else, then they only then and only then were they allowed to move on to count 2, which is criminally negligent homicide. Somebody said refresh. I don't know if you're telling me to refresh or somebody in the chat to refresh. Judge Wiley says, I deny your motion for a mistrial. The jurors can continue their deliberations. Whenever they are ready for us, we are ready. Jury entering. This was 1 minute ago. Judge Wiley, I wanted to tell you the court has no role at all in your deliberations. It would be improper. Yeah, okay, we're waiting. We're waiting. If you guys feel so inclined, Inner City Press is amazing. He's there, boots on the ground. I was going to go there today, but I decided because of safety reasons and other things that it would be more beneficial for me to sit here with you guys and talk about this on the tubes of law here. It would be improper. Okay. Well, that's where we stand right now. It would be improper for him. I guess he's going to say it would be improper for me to inquire as to your deliberations or to inquire as to what the split is. And this is something that Josh Ritter and I talked about on Friday. So it looks to me like he's denied the request for a mistrial, the latest request for a mistrial by the defense, and he's sending them back, and he's going to allow them to deliberate. There's one, there's one more. Yeah, so continue deliberating. Jury exits. Wow. All right, so let's just put this down for posterity. Jury goes back in to deliberate 9 seconds ago. It is now 10:17 a.m. in New York. How long do you think it's going to take them to come back with a not guilty on count 2? Could I find a pen that works? Maybe. I don't know. Anybody judge a place by their pens? I have a friend, my good friend. I won't name her. We were both doing college tours with our kids at the same time. Different colleges, but I have twins, and she has a singleton, as they call it. And she said, my kid's going to college with at the college that gives me the best pen, she said. And very proudly, she said, I'm a pen thief. Everywhere I go, I take pens, and I judge a place by their pens. Here's one right here. This is from Pace University. I have to say, this pen did not last very long. It's nice. It's got a clicker. It's got the heft, it's got the nice little rubber bottom here. As far as ink, didn't last very long at all. So yeah, guess what? Pace was out. Pace was out. Pen judger. You're a pen judgers too. It's not just me. She's like, I steal pens everywhere I go. She's like, and I'm proud of it. So I decided I'm going to be a pen thief too. Like, here's another nice pen. Here's another nice pen, right? Got some heft to it. What is this? Valley. I don't even know what Valley is. I don't even know where I got this pen. It's got the little nub on the back to use on your smartphone, right? But again, The ink is weak. The ballpoint isn't really, rolling very well. And that's that. So the jury's back out. The jury is back out, and now we wait. Let's take a look at the pattern jury instructions for criminally negligent homicide, because this is what they're going to be talking about back there in the jury room. And this is the way they were instructed. This is the New York pattern jury instructions. I don't know how much time we're going to have, because it could be quick. Could be quick. We'll see. This is the pattern jury instruction on criminally negligent homicide. This is New York State Penal Law, Section 12510. And as you can see, this is a pattern jury instruction, so it has spaces for the judge to fill in. This would say the second count is criminally negligent homicide. If you're just tuning in, welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Smash the like button on your way in. You didn't miss anything yet, because the defense has moved for a mistrial again. Judge said no, sent the jury back out to try and reach a verdict only on count 2, which is criminally negligent homicide. And so therefore, I have pulled up the pattern jury instruction in New York for criminally negligent homicide, so we can talk about it, talk about what they're deciding back there in the jury room, for those of you who are not familiar with the New York State Penal Law. As I frantically refresh the feed for Inner City Press. Okay, hang on. Our boots on the ground reporter who covers all New York courts, actually. Mostly SDNY, which is federal court. Okay. All right, here we go. The second count is criminally negligent homicide. Under our law, a person is guilty of criminally negligent homicide when, with criminal negligence, that person causes the death of another person. The following term used in that definition has a special meaning. Footnote 2. And we're not going to know. It says here, if causation, death, or person is an issue, see additional charges at the end of this article. So maybe causation was another jury instruction that they gave, but I don't know, because there's no cameras in the courtroom, so we couldn't see either the charge. We could see neither the charge conference nor the actual instructions given to the jury. A person acts with criminal negligence with respect to a death when that person engages in blameworthy conduct so serious that it creates or contributes to a substantial and unjustifiable risk that another person's death will occur. And when he or she fails to perceive that risk, and when the risk is of such nature and degree that failure to perceive it constitutes a gross deviation from the standard of care that a reasonable person would observe in the situation. Footnote 3. See Penal Law 15.05. You may notice from that definition that criminal negligence is not the same type of negligence you may be familiar with from a civil lawsuit seeking a money judgment. The carelessness required for criminal negligence is appreciably more serious. It must be such that its seriousness would be apparent to anyone who shares the community's general sense of right and wrong. And remember, the jury came back one day and asked the judge to define reasonableness. And he said, that is up to you, what you consider reasonable, what a reasonable person would do. And it's a subjective standard. In order for you to find the defendant guilty of this crime, the people are required to prove from all the evidence in the case, beyond a reasonable doubt, both of the following two elements. that on said date in the county of New York, the defendant, Daniel Penny, caused the death of Jordan Neely, and 2, that the defendant did so with criminal negligence. If you find the people have proven beyond a reasonable doubt both of these elements, you must find the defendant guilty of this crime. If you find the people have not proven beyond a reasonable doubt either one or both of those elements, you must find the defendant not guilty of this crime. Okay, let's point out here. Point 1. You have to find that both of these things are true. That Daniel Penny caused the death of Jordan Neely. In my opinion, there is a question about cause of death. There are conflicting expert opinions. The medical examiner for the state who performed the autopsy says that the chokehold on Jordan Neely was the cause of death. She also admitted she reached that determination prior to the toxicology report coming in. Toxicology report showed an unknown amount of synthetic cannabinoids in the system of Jordan Neely, specifically K2 or spice, which is what was found in his system. And toxicology testing cannot determine how much K2 was in his system. She even said on cross-examination that it would not change her opinion. She said, even if there was enough fentanyl in his system to kill an elephant, I would still say that the chokehold was the cause of death. Listen, I'm sitting on a jury and I hear that. I'm like, what? Did you seriously just say that? And now I'm discounting her entire testimony. Big fan of Justice says spice kills people every day. Any K2 is too much, says Charlie Lynn. So if there's one holdout or 11 holdouts who say, yeah, he died, it was tragic, but he didn't die from the chokehold because the defense expert said, first of all, there was proof of life after the first responders came onto the train. We saw video where at least 3 or 4 of them found a pulse on Jordan Neely. The defense's expert said that the cause of death was not the chokehold, that he was merely restraining him until he got to the next stop. And the cause of death was a combination of the synthetic marijuana or K2 that was found in his system, sickle cell trait, which can cause a loss of lack of oxygen or improper oxygen to reach the brain, and for perhaps side effects from his mental illness. So if they don't get past this first prong, that Daniel Penny caused the death of Jordan Neely, it's not guilty on criminally negligent homicide. If they do think that the chokehold or that Daniel Penny caused his death, then they go on to decide whether or not he did so with criminal negligence. And they have to determine whether Daniel Penny engaged in blameworthy conduct so serious that it created or contributed to a substantial and unjustifiable risk that Jordan Neely's death would occur, that he failed to perceive that risk, and that the risk was of such nature and degree that failure to perceive it constitutes a gross deviation from the standard of care that a reasonable person would observe in the situation. And I'm going to submit to you that if there were 11 people who wanted to find him not guilty of manslaughter and one person who wanted to find him guilty, and then that top charge was dismissed, and now they're going back to decide this charge, the person who wanted to find him guilty is still going to want to find him guilty of the lesser charge, right? If he wanted to convict him of the top charge. But if it was something like 11-1 guilty on the top charge and one saying no, not guilty, I don't think the not guilty person is going to flip on criminal negligence, because their position likely would be he's not guilty of anything. He saved people on that train. He was a hero. So I don't know what's going to happen, but what I do know is that, in my opinion, this is reversible error. The judge allowing the ADA to just withdraw that charge and to let them go on to count number 2, which he clearly said in the verdict slip they're not supposed to do until and unless they reach a verdict or a consensus on count 1. Let's take a look. The only live coverage I can find on this right now is Fox Live, and they just had something from outside the courtroom. So let's take a look and see what they had to say. And then hopefully when something happens in court, they'll come to some live coverage outside the courtroom.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Stephanie. Is 10:10 Eastern, 7:10 Pacific, and I wanted to bring you out live to New York City right here. This is a live look outside a New York City courthouse. As you can see, a lot of folks speaking right there, someone with a bullhorn. This, as a New York City jury will begin weighing to convict Marine veteran Daniel Tenney of criminally negligent homicide in the death of a man that he placed in a chokehold on a subway train. This after jurors said last week that they could not reach a unanimous verdict on a more serious charge. The judge agreed to dismiss the top count of manslaughter against Penny on Friday, and then directed the panel to start deliberating today on the lesser charge, which carries a lighter punishment. Now, the judge in that decision said, quote, "Whether that makes any difference or not, I have no idea, but I'm going to direct you to focus your deliberations on count 2," and then told them to go home and think about something else. Penny placed Jordan Neely in a chokehold for about 6 minutes in May of 2023 after Neely.
Okay, we're going to put that on hold so that we can go back to the courtroom, where Inner City Press is reporting as of 1 minute ago. He's ADA Yoren comes in. Now Judge Wiley, come to order. Judge Wiley says, does the defense want to go on the record? Penny's lawyer, Tom Kenneth, says, when we retired to the ante room, there are audible chants. I would like these videos from my cell phone to be made part of the record. So remember, in the Karen Reed case, the judge installed a buffer zone around the courthouse so that the jury would not be subject to listening to things that were going on outside the courtroom or the courthouse. And there are chants outside going on. I don't know what they're chanting, but I have an idea. Daniel Penny's a murderer. Daniel Penny's a murderer. So let's keep Karen Reed trial was moved to April. Is that legit? Yeah, exactly. That's why she did it. Yep. I don't know. People are sending me emails and other things, but I don't have any confirmation of that decision. Jordan was alive when Penny let go. Refreshing again. Oh, Penny's lawyer, Tom Keniff, says the chants are Daniel Penny, subway strangler. And if we don't get no justice, they don't get no peace, which we take as a threat against the jurors. The press conference outside the court on Friday said the same. Circus-like is not okay. I'm going to show you that press conference because Inner City Press has some video of it, and I didn't see anybody else reporting on it. It's the founder of BLM. His name is, hang on, I searched for it. So Hawk Newsome, and he came outside on Friday and he said some crazy stuff. And Inner City Press was there to capture it. I don't know that any other news organization broadcast it because I can't find it on a major news network, shockingly enough. I don't know. Think that's juror intimidation? Maybe a little. Chanting outside that the jury can hear. Daniel Penny, subway strangler, and if we don't get no justice, they don't get no peace. Think the jury might be afraid to render a verdict in this case because either way, if they come back with guilty or not guilty, there's going to be rioting outside. Every time Daniel Penny walks into the courtroom, they're screaming, murderer, murderer, murderer. And then the ADA says in response to this, I've only heard justice for Jordan Neely, not threats. The man with the bullhorn, well, he says bullpen. The man with the bullhorn is gone now. There are numerous threats from the other side during this trial. If you view the press conference, look at the threats about if Mr. Penny is found guilty. This is getting crazy. It's getting crazy out there. Kate's like, why does everything come down to race? Can't we all just get along? Their argument is that if, well, I'll show you their argument because I have the recording of it. You can decide for yourselves. Waiting for another update. But the judge is gonna look at maybe the judge is gonna look at the cell phone video. And he's gonna be like, yeah, no, they're not just saying justice for Jordan Neely. They are saying things like Daniel Penny, subway strangler. And if we don't get no justice, they don't get no peace. Yeah, I think I'm glad I didn't go down to the courthouse today. Thank you, all of you who convinced me not to go. Then Judge Wiley says, well, I saw a pro-Penny bullpen this morning, but it's true the anti-Penny chanting went on longer today than usual into jury deliberations. Put your video in on a flash drive. But Ms. Yoren is right. There has been unfair shade thrown on the DA and ADA. Judge said shade in the record. Hold on a second. Judge said shade on the record. Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he did. Well, I saw a pro-Penny bullpen this morning, but it's true the anti-Penny chanting went on longer today than usual into jury deliberations. Put your video in on a flash drive. Ms. Yoren is right. There has been unfair shade thrown on the DA and the ADA. Welsh Paul says the jury won't be influenced by mob rule. I don't know what's going to influence them. Scott says, yeah, that's also why the jury won't grant the judge won't grant a mistrial. So it's on the jury, not him. Yeah. Think? Quite possible. He doesn't want to be the one attacked and come after on social media and other places. Still waiting for more information. It's wild. That's why he's not going to toss it, in my opinion. You're right, Scott. Scott, you're always coming in here with the thoughts. All right, still waiting. Let's go back to that other piece that we were just watching. Doesn't look like he's going to do anything about it. And 13 seconds ago, the judge says, well, I denied the motion for a mistrial. If they ask, I could try to find a jury room where they couldn't hear it, but I'm not sure I could find them. I could bring them out now and ask. Then the ADA says it's moot if it starts again, and then it does start. The chanting resumes. He says. So there's that. Okay, so it looks like the judge in the Karen Reed case has granted the motion to adjourn the trial date to April Fool's Day. Coincidentally, not so ironic, kind of ironic, but really not. And she had to because the SJC did not come down with their decision. They closed their term on Friday. So there's that. Breaking news. Karen Reed trial has been adjourned to April Fool's Day. Just this morning, as we're sitting here. Me myself says would be saying the same if the chanting would be the other way. I feel sad there's no one standing up for Daniel. I think there are. I just think that they have bullhorns on the other side and they're louder. I feel like he's just like, there's no way. I'm good. There's nothing that you can possibly say that's going to make Judge Wiley grant a mistrial at this point. He's like, no, he's leaving it in the hands of the jury. But again, what do you think? Do you think that the jury could be intimidated by listening to these chants outside? And then 4 seconds ago, Penny's lawyer, Tom Kenneth, says the ADA has some control over the protesters. Judge Wiley says, stop that, Mr. Kenneth. I've addressed. And then the ADA urine says he brought up the press conference. And then Kenneth says it was a press conference by the lawyers representing Mr. Neely. Let me finish. Ooh. I didn't see that presser. I saw the presser of I saw a presser with the BLM founder, Hawk Newsom. Getting testy in there. It's getting testy in the courtroom. Christy, a painter's daughter, says if I was the jury, I'd be scared to even leave. One of the commenters on this post says, imagine trying to do due process, but people outside the court threaten to burn your neighborhoods to the ground if you don't pick the verdict they want. Lizzie says it would make me nervous if I was a juror. And remember, they're up on the 13th floor of a huge building, and they can still hear it. As we wait for more tweets. He says, oh, okay, well, wait a second. All right, I didn't see a press conference. Did anybody see a press conference by the lawyers representing Mr. Neely? Maybe in the civil suit? I don't think I saw that one. But I think that the lawyer representing him is Dante Mills, and he's a guy who often appears on Court TV and News Nation and stuff. Oh, here we go. He then says, do you want me to, the judge says, do you want me to bring the jurors in and ask if they want to move rooms? And his lawyer, Tom Kenneth, says, let me check with Mr. Razor. That's his co-counsel, his partner. Unfortunately, that would only compound the problem. Right. It would bring more attention to the chanting outside. They really need cameras in that court. It's New York. They just don't do it here. They just don't do it. Yeah. Jennifer says it's getting spicy in that courtroom. Yep. I want to became a member. Welcome. Cindy's been a member for 3 months. Thank you so much. On top of that super sticker. Yes, I confirmed that. I just looked at the court docket. So the trial was moved to April. Thank you, Cherie. That was a little while ago, I think. So I think our messages crossed paths. Hissy Fed says, 52nd birthday and 3rd-year sober birthday. My wish is Daniel Penny walks out of court a free man. Happy birthday, Hissy Feds. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Thanks for tuning in from Canada. Thanks for your super chat and congratulations on your sobriety. That's amazing. All the good things happening for you today. Storm Dancer, thanks for the 5. Why do they not blame first responders who did not render aid? Jordan was alive after Penny let go. I think that was one of the arguments that defense attorneys made in closing. One of the police sergeants actually got on the stand and said, I wasn't going to let any of my guys do any, life-saving measure on him or get too close to him because, this is in his words, he said something like, he was a dirty drug addict and I didn't want any of my officers to bring something like hepatitis home to their families. Thanks, Narky, for being a member for a month, says Free Daniel Penny. Okay, let's see what's next. So they're not going to bring the jury back in and try and find them a different room because defense attorney says it's only going to compound the problem. And that is where we stand right now. Let's go back for a moment to continue this story that we were just watching on Fox Live.
Neely began acting erratically on a subway car. During the month-long trial, the 26-year-old's attorneys argued that he put his own life on the line to protect other passengers from a mentally ill man. Prosecutors argued that he went too far in responding to Neely, who was unarmed. And this case did spark national debate. So happening right now, you can see crowds continuing to gather outside the courthouse as a jury will begin weighing whether to convict Marine veteran Daniel Penny of criminally negligent homicide. And that is a lesser charge after the jurors said last week they could not reach a unanimous verdict on manslaughter. There was actually a bit of confrontation happening just a short time ago. So I did want to raise the audio to see what we can hear.
Okay, so this is from earlier this morning. Court reconvened at 10 a.m. This is from a little bit before that.
It does look like the crowds have now calmed down. No doubt there is a very heavy police presence and the view a little bit obstructed by those vehicles there in the foreground. But there are metal barricades surrounding to create that barrier to prevent those crowds, the protesters, the onlookers from getting a little bit unruly. We are going to step away for another 2-minute break. After that, we are going to continue our coverage with Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas speaking at the family.
Okay, and then as of 2 minutes ago, the judge says, I may call you back in. Speaking to the lawyers. That was 2 minutes ago. Let's take a look at the video of what happened Friday outside the courthouse. As I just gather that for you, talk amongst yourselves for a second. They don't make it easy. Refresh that for a second. Nothing since 3 minutes ago when he said, I may call you back in. Trying to find that video for you. Hang on. Hmm. Did he have to take it down? Wait a sec. Well, while we're waiting for that, I'm trying to find that. Let's take a look at some other coverage from this morning. This is just about 3 hours ago on Fox, New York.
Daniel Penny trial. He is expected back in court today as the jury decides his fate, now deliberating on the second lesser charge.
And this after the judge presiding over the case tossed out the manslaughter charge in this case. Good Day's Robert Moses is outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan with what it all means. Robert, what's happening?
Dan and Tashani, the 7 women and 5 men of the jury will reconvene at about 9:45. And when they do, they will no longer have to consider that more serious manslaughter charge. So the question is, with that now off the table, will they then move to quickly convict on the lesser charge?
When jurors deciding Daniel Penny's fate reconvene this morning, the manslaughter charge they had been considering will no longer be on the table. After they could not reach a unanimous verdict on it, Judge Maxwell Wiley dismissed it on Friday. Whether that makes any difference or not, I have no idea, Wiley told them, but I'm going to direct you to focus your deliberations on count 2. Count 2 is criminally negligent homicide, which carries a lesser sentence, 4 years compared to 15, though it's possible that even if Penny is convicted, he will not spend any time at all behind bars. On May 1st of last year, Jordan Neely, who battled homelessness and mental illness, boarded an F train and, according to witnesses, started acting erratically, harassed passengers, and expressed a willingness to die. Sensing danger, Penny placed him in a chokehold for about 6 minutes. Neely died. Though the medical examiner ruled he died of compression of the neck, Penny's lawyers argued that other factors, including Neely's drug use and his sickle cell trait, contributed. Though Penny did not take the stand in his own defense, friends and relatives testified to his character. But is he a hero or a vigilante? That debate will likely rage long after the jury speaks.
On Friday, the defense asked Judge Wiley to declare a mistrial, but he declined to do that, instead taking that top charge off the table, which brings us to today and to the resumption of deliberations, which begins just before 10 o'clock. Live at criminal court this morning, Tashani and Dan, back to you.
And if you're just tuning in, the judge did ask for another mistrial this morning. The defense was denied. Here's what happened on Friday after court. The volume is a little bit low. You may need to turn the volume up on your end. There's nothing I can really do about it. Just let me know that you can hear it. This happened Friday after court was dismissed for the day. And this is one of the things that the defense attorneys were referring to this morning. Credit to Inner City Press for this video.
HAWK, NEWSO, Emerson Mary E. We saw the jury having a problem with the top charge. We saw a judge dismiss the top charge. But I want to take you back to jury selection. When they found a jury specialist who specializes in getting white supremacist killers off, who specializes in race-based jury selection. This woman worked OJ's case. She worked Kyle Rittenhouse's case, the person who brought an AR-15 to a Black Lives Matter rally and killed people. She worked that case, and they paid her, I don't know how much money, to come in here and pick this jury. Now, I want y'all to quote me on this. America is going to America. And this defense team and jury specialists knew that there was no way you could put 9 white people in a room that would find Daniel Penny guilty. Yes. They picked a white supremacist jury specialist to target the racists in that jury. Yes. The prosecution pointed out the fact that defense was eliminating people based on race. Let me take it back because I don't want to scare y'all. Logically thinking, if you pick a white supremacist jury specialist and you pack the jury with white people, obviously you think race has a significant role in this case. And obviously you were looking for that one.
Just to clarify, this is not his family talking. This is Hawk Newsom, one of the BLM co-founders.
White supremacist holdout. Had one holdout. Might have been more. But there was definitely one person in there that said, I'm not going to convict this white kid for killing that poor little mentally ill Negro piece of trash. Forgive my language.
I don't know if any of the mainstream media even aired this.
The defendant himself called Jordan a dirty crackhead. And the police let him go. The police found inconsistencies in his story and allowed Daniel Penny to walk free. When does that happen for black people? Am I not making my point clear enough? Racism has its tentacles all over this case. Racism has its evil tentacles all over its case in America. There's no other way to view this. Everyone has looked at the case, and those among you who say that Daniel Penny is innocent have racism and bias in your heart. If you look at the facts of this case, then you understand that Daniel Penny is guilty. But today, white supremacy got another victory to place second-class status on black people. And black people don't get your hopes up. I'm going to spare you the shot. Even if convicted of the top charge, you want to get more than 4 years. We don't get justice in these buildings. They might throw us a crumb here and there, but we don't get justice in these buildings. And I dare you to show me a study or some case law to prove that, to disprove that.
She's the co-founder as well.
Because I have to hug a father who knows that the murderer of his son will most likely go free. Who has to look in the face of a jury that no matter the facts, no matter the expert witnesses, The Mexican people yelled on that train that day to let Jordan go, you will kill him. They will not find a white man guilty of killing a black man in modern day America. This is no different than Jim Crow. This looks like a picture out of the picture book when you look at that anonymous jury. We have baby boomers who are there doing Jim Crow on this jury. We have young people.
Jim Crow now?
Are looking at Daniel Penny as a hero. And what America is a hero.
This is so hyperbolic. They have no idea. I'm sorry if I blew your ears out just that now. What the jury split is. It could be 11 want to convict on manslaughter and 1 doesn't. So in my opinion, they're just trying to rile people up. They have no idea what the split is inside that jury room because the judge didn't ask. Nobody knows.
A killer. He didn't give a crap about Jordan. The medical examiner said Jordan turned purple. Yes, black people can turn purple when they're denied oxygen. Every lab report showed he died of asphyxiation. And that doesn't matter because they want to spare a white man the penalty of his crime. America has not changed, and I hate to say it, it may never change. And people want to get justice in America, we can't show up with peace. We can't show up with facts. We can't show up with evidence and witness after witness. You give us nothing. And then you ask us to love this country. America hates black people, and we see it from that jury pool.
A black man was lynched, and his name was Jordan Neely.
Lynching. Now he's moving on to lynching. Okay. Then there's a guy who comes on to speak. This was Friday after court. The guy who comes to speak on behalf of train
Good evening,
passengers.
everyone. I'm the president of Passengers United. We're a subway safety advocacy group. We cover subway safety in the subways. If anyone needs a soundbite from us, from Passengers United. Hey, am I allowed to go there on that side or no? Okay, all right.
Oh, buffering. I thought he caught that on his video, but
Press to be continued.
guess he didn't. So there's that. That's what happened outside the courthouse on Friday, and that is why, part of the reason why the defense moved again for a mistrial today, because he said the jury could hear what was going on outside the courtroom, the chanting of such things like Daniel Penny is a criminal. Let's go back to some other coverage by some people that are far smarter than I am to discuss this with you, including Alan Dershowitz. Hold on. And this is from Friday.
After news broke that the manslaughter charge was dismissed, legal expert Jonathan Turley posted on X that this is what DA Alvin Bragg actually wanted all along in setting up a possible compromise verdict. Well, let's talk about that and everything else. Joining us now with more, Harvard Law Professor Emeritus Alan Dershowitz and Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me again tonight. Important issues here we're facing. Greg, I want to start with you. At first blush, that this dismissal of the manslaughter charge seems like good news. But to the point that this is what Bragg perhaps wanted is what's interesting to me. Can you explain that to the viewer?
Well, it is a partial victory for the defense that prosecutors threw in the towel on the top charge that they should never have brought. And then the judge dismissed it. But in doing so, Judge Wiley, I think, created what looks like reversible error so that if the jury convicts on the lesser charge next week, it would be overturned on appeal. Why? because the judge contradicted his own earlier ruling that the jury could only consider the second count if they found Penny not guilty of the first count. Well, guess what? That didn't happen. So now the judge is letting the jury do what he said he couldn't do. And the defense is right. This is coercive, sort of forcing the jury to convict by changing the rules after the fact. It's not just unorthodox, it's legally wrong. The judge's only option, one option only, was to declare a mistrial on a deadlocked jury and dismiss one charge during deliberations and then double down on the remaining charge. You can't do that. To me, it clearly violates Penny's due process rights. But I agree with Turley. The lesser included was there as a potential compromise, and maybe that was their intention all along.
Right. This is, for all of us, we believe this should never have gone to trial in the first place. And Professor Dershowitz, in this kind of a dynamic, when you've got, even at one point, he told the jury that it would have to be another jury. If they couldn't come to a decision, there would be another trial, and another jury would do their job. But there's no guarantee.
Handsome Calvin. How handsome are you? It says, of course, a bunch of Fox News lovers. We're going to watch CNN after this. We're going to see what CNN has to say. If there's another network that you would prefer, like MSNBC, we can watch them too. So just hang tight, handsome Calvin.
That there would be another trial. The DA could decide not to try it again. It seems, again, like there's a kind of coercion that's aimed at the jury at this point.
Well, I think it's manipulation. It's manipulation by the prosecution. Look, your commentator that protested was absolutely right. This is a case about racism. It's about the racism by the district attorney. It's racism because if the racial composition had been flipped, nobody would have brought this case. There'd be no protesters outside protesting about a black man being convicted of murder for choking somebody who was white. This is all about race, which is why, although this is an attempt to manipulate the jury into coming to a compromise verdict, I think it will fail. I'm going to predict here and now that I think the jury will remain deadlocked on the lower count because...
BC, did you not hear what I just said? BC says bigots on Fox will not have good takes. First of all, don't take the Lord's name in vain on my channel. But second of all, I just said we're going to go to CNN after this. So in case you weren't listening, I'll say it a little louder for you.
As the judge pointed out, from what he's heard and seen on the notes, this looks like it's about disagreement between the jurors over two things: justification, was he justified in doing this, and causation, did he actually cause the death? And those issues are the same for the higher count and for the lower count. Also, if it's tried again, he can't put him on trial again for the higher count. That would be double jeopardy. And so I think the issue is whether or not the manipulation will work and we'll get enough jurors to say, well, no, he didn't commit manslaughter, but negligence, well, let's give the prosecution a victory. Remember, too, the prosecution is running for re-election, and he can't win re-election if he loses this case and also loses the Trump case, which he will on appeal if the Trump is allowed to appeal. Look, Bragg is the worst district attorney in modern New York history. That's an office that has had such great people. Thomas Dewey was the district attorney. Morgenthau was the district attorney. Hogan was the district attorney. These are great DAs, and now we have Bragg. My God, he is lowering the office to the lowest possible level and diminishing the respect that all New Yorkers have for what was once a great office located in the Hogan building. And it will never be called the Bragg building. I guarantee you that.
It's a great office. It's a great city, all of which deserve better. And Greg, I'm going to ask you the same thing. What do you think this jury is going to do? I mean, a man's liberty is at stake. And if you're going to, kind of do piecemeal things to placate the prosecution, or you feel pressured by a judge, how is that justice at all for when somebody's liberty is at stake?
Oh, it's not justice at all. As I said, the case should never have been brought. The top count, certainly not. And the fact that the deadlocked jury is still there, and I think they'll still be deadlocked on Monday, a reflection of the liberal views in New York and the public pressure that social activists have applied resulted in this case.
Yep.
They care less about law and order and more about identity politics. If Neely was white, Penny black, this case wouldn't have been brought. But racial justice warriors try to make it into another George Floyd outrage. You played the clip of the Black Lives Matter person. You know, they vilified Penny as a racist vigilante. Alvin Bragg, all too happy to go along and do their bidding. And his lead prosecutor implied at every turn that Penny was racist.
So, but
there's
Greg,
no evidence.
Greg,
but I think,
go ahead, Professor.
Well, I think this case was hung before they heard any evidence. I think as soon as the jury was selected, this became a hung jury. That some members of the jury said, we don't care about the evidence. If a black man is killed by a white man, there's guilt. And you're not going to shake that. No amount of reading back of transcripts, no amount of evidence, no amount of instruction is going to shake that. So I think.
Could you say the same thing about a lot of cases, Karen Reed? People who feel that Karen Reed is guilty are never going to change their minds. It doesn't matter what you show them. It doesn't matter what you explain to them. They are never going to change their minds. They believe 100% that John O'Keefe was hit by a car and she killed him and left him there in cold blood, and that's the end of that. There is no talking sense into anybody who thinks that Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe with her car.
That the people who have voted for a hung jury, basically on the top count, they're going to stick with it on the lower count. I don't think you're going to move people by the law or the facts. You're going to move them only by the emotions of race. And that's what Bragg has been playing into. And it's a disgrace.
But see, then, Greg, that's, I think, exactly the point, is that the things that made this indeterminable for the manslaughter charge is exactly the same as Professor Dershowitz noted for this other charge. So there's unless somebody makes a decision because they've been bullied or pressured. But I think in this kind of a trial, I think that's less likely in this kind of a case.
Yes.
So what do you think they're going to do? Can you read the tea leaves here for a minute?
Yeah, if you look at the questions they asked over and over and over of the judge, please explain to us the law on justification. Well, the doctrine of justification.
They wanted it, and they also wanted the definition of reasonable.
Justifiable homicide applies to both the top count now dismissed and the lower count, which still exists.
Right.
So those same people that had concerns about justification still harbor those concerns, and they're the type of concerns that are deeply embedded in them. And so I doubt that they're going to change. I think Professor Dershowitz is right. There's still going to be a hung jury on Monday, but we'll have to wait and see.
We will. And, this is perhaps the best case
there's
scenario.
One possibility.
The best case scenario.
Yeah, there's one possibility that
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. There's one possibility of the case being unhung, and that is fear. Fear on the part of some of the jurors who would vote for acquit. You have these people standing outside shouting racial epithets. One of them was shouting homophobic epithets at the defendant in the case. Nobody knows what his sexual orientation is. Nobody should care. But these are rioters. These are Black Lives Matter rioters. These are people who don't care about justice. They only care about justice for them and their race. And this is racial injustice. This is so scary for America. And I hope the judge will have the good sense to understand that you can't allow that kind of racism to enter into the courtroom. He allowed one of the Black Lives Matter people to come into the courtroom and sit next to the family of the victim after he had made these racial and homophobic statements. So we have to be very concerned, because what is today unfair to one group of people could easily be as unfair to other group of people.
We do have to go, but I'll tell you this.
And there is those opinions from Alan Dershowitz. I do like Jonathan Turley. I didn't see anything that he was, any news pieces that he was on yet. Thank you, Mark McKay, for hanging around for 3 months and for loving the channel. I love you too. If there's anything new from inside the courtroom, nothing yet. I don't think it's going to take them very long, so we're going to hang till we have some more information. Thank you, Ginny, for hanging around for 4 months, says, I've been thinking about what a non-true crime juror will think about the dismissed top charge with a criminal justice degree. I can't imagine. It's hard, right? People just don't separate their personal experiences. You can ask them to, but the reality of it is they don't, right? And we know from voir dire and from the other shows that I've done on this that many of the jurors who are sitting on this jury have had experiences on the subway that were not so pleasant. They've been victims of crimes on the subway. They've had family members who've been victims of crimes on the subway. They've seen things happen on the subway. So there are a lot of those jurors on the jury. Tracy Fagan, thanks for the 5. Does Neely's 42 arrest and warrant come into the civil trial? It may. It probably will. I mean, discovery and evidentiary rules are different in civil cases. It didn't come into the criminal trial, but it may come into the civil trial. Great question. Just ducking around. Thanks for hanging around for 3 months. Jurors are being intimidated to find him guilty. Storm Dancer, thanks for the 5. Many humans don't get justice. Stop with the color of the skin. We're one race human. Thanks, Michelle, for becoming a member. Just ducking around. Thanks for the 5. Says, I can't believe this man's being charged when he passed after he had let go of him. I think a lot of people feel the same way. Kyle, thanks for this. No amount of evidence will change a fool's mind. That's a good one. Who do we attribute that to? I see it's in quotes. Do we have a source for that? Because I like it. For those of you who think I'm totally biased for showing you a Fox News clip, let's now go to and look at CNN. Charlie Lynn, thanks for the 10. Are they suggesting that if the decedent was white, Penny would have applied less force in a similar situation? I think they're suggesting that if the decedent was white, nobody would have brought these charges. Or if Daniel Penny was black and the victim was white, these charges wouldn't be tried. They wouldn't be trying so hard for a conviction. Charlie Lynn, it changes every single day. I have no idea what to think at this point anymore. Let's take a look at what CNN has to say about this. See if it's the same. This is from 2 days ago.
The judge has now dismissed the manslaughter charge against Daniel Penny after jurors came back a second time to announce that they were indeed deadlocked. Now the jury will consider a lesser charge against Penny, who was charged in the subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely last year. CNN's Gloria Pazmino has been inside the courtroom for the entire trial. Gloria, walk us through these dramatic developments.
Well, what it most importantly means, Jake, for Daniel Penny after a 6-week trial and after a day of this jury not being able to get to an agreement on the most serious charge, instead of looking at a maximum of 15 years in prison, had he been convicted of the first charge, he's only looking at a maximum of 4 years in prison if he is convicted on this second charge. The most serious charge, manslaughter in the second degree, has now been dismissed after the prosecution floated the idea and Judge Wiley granted the motion. Now, here's what Judge Wiley told this jury about.
At least they're reporting on this correctly. I saw a lot of headlines that said judge dismisses the manslaughter charges if he did that on his own. A lot of media was not reporting that the ADA actually asked for a dismissal, actually withdrew the manslaughter charge. It wasn't the judge. I mean, the judge did make the final decision to do it, but this was at the request of the ADA. It wasn't something the judge did on his own.
Making that decision, he told them, quote, what that means is you are now free to consider count 2. Whether that makes any difference or not, I have no idea. He then encouraged them to go home and think about, quote, something else over the weekend. And Jake, that is because they'll be right back here on Monday morning to continue to deliberate on the second charge. The second charge, criminally negligent homicide. What does that mean? They have to decide whether or not the prosecution proved that Daniel Penny is guilty of having acted recklessly, that he should have known that placing Jordan Neely in a chokehold was a risky maneuver. That's what this charge is about, and whether or not they'll get to a verdict finally by this time on Monday remains to be seen. We will be here to keep you updated. Jake?
All right, Gloria Pesmino, thank you so much. I want to bring in criminal defense attorney Mark Eiglarsh. Mark, are you surprised that the jurors were not able to come to a unanimous decision on the more serious charge?
No, when you bring politically based charges, that's what happens. Meaning, I think that prosecutors normally wouldn't bring a case like this, dismissing his actions as one of mere negligence, but not criminal negligence. What outrages me candidly is that the judge is sending them back again to deliberate. Every jury, and I've been.
Okay, so here's CNN, which is whoever the two critics said that I was so biased for showing you the Fox News coverage. Here's Mark Eiglarsh, who's on a lot of channels as a talking head, and he completely agrees with everything that the Fox News talking heads were saying. So I don't think that the educated attorneys on either side of the talking head channels are in disagreement on this. I think everyone's in agreement.
Trying cases for 32 years. They're told if they don't have proof beyond a reasonable doubt as to the main charge, consider the lesser charge. Well, they did. For 4 days and 18 hours, 7 women, 5 men considered the main charge and then the lesser charge. Now sending them back, it almost implies that the judge is saying, all right, there may be something to this lesser charge, so go back there and consider it again.
How long do you think the judge will make the jury deliberate if they continue to be deadlocked on this lesser charge?
However long the judge feels. It's totally in his discretion. The defense will object, but legally the judge can give them sufficient time, maybe read them another Allen charge where they say, we are counting on you. We spent a lot of money and time, please. But they've done that already. I don't think that this judge is respecting the jurors' beliefs, and I also think it reeks of desperation from the prosecution.
If Penny is found guilty on this lesser charge,
is willing to dismiss that manslaughter charge, just willing to just let it go. How confident were they in their case in the first place? Good morning, Kelly Reed. And why did they bring it in the first place? And what kind of a message does this send to other ADAs in New York City? Hey, let's overcharge everybody. Let's overcharge everyone. Charge everyone with murder too. And then you know what? If it's not going well for us during jury deliberations or at some point during the trial, we feel like we're losing, we'll just pull it off the table and let them go and just deliberate on the lesser included. Sends a horrible message to the people of New York.
what kind of sentencing might he face?
Well, the maximum technically is 4 years, but I think the max in any criminal case should be reserved for the worst of the worst. It should be reserved for people who have reoffended. I don't think that he deserves that kind of time. This charge that they're deliberating on would be for somebody who's driving recklessly, they're staring at their phone, they're speeding, it's a willful and wanton disregard of human life, and they wind up killing someone. That's not plausibly analogous to what this guy did in these circumstances.
What conversations do you think Penny's lawyers are having right now?
We want a
they're
mistrial.
Thrilled that the first charge is gone, but they're going, man, I can't believe the judge is sending him back. It almost reeks of coercion. The judge is saying, go back, look at the lesser charge. But we did. So what does this mean? I think it's scary. I've been there. Jake, I've been there where they take 4 days. They're going to take another day. It is agonizing.
It sounds to me like you're suggesting that the judge is basically telling the jury, in not in so many words, but suggesting you really should convict him on this lesser charge.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far because
A little
the judge
bit.
is doing his job, and I'm
It's
not
like,
even saying
it's a
that
little bit coercive. Yeah. This is coercive as duck, says Marcello.
he's done anything illegal. What I'm saying is that it reeks,
Sends
the
a message,
image
yeah.
of what it looks like is, well, wait, you've already deliberated on that lesser charge. The prosecutors dismissed the main charge. So I'm going to send you back there and I'm going to have you consider that lesser charge again. I'm just saying that there's a fair argument to make from the defense that it almost implies that the judge is suggesting there may be something to this lesser charge. That's all I'm saying.
The judge told the jury to go home and try to think about something else over the weekend, not this case. Is that even possible for a jury?
Absolutely not if you're human and not a robot. Picture a tiger on a unicycle with a Nazi helmet juggling balls. Okay, wait.
What?
Forget about that image. Don't think about it.
What?
Come on, they're
Dude,
obsessed.
come on.
They're going to be thinking about it. They'll probably be talking it over with friends and family who've watched the media. They're told not to, but they are human. They do it.
Mark Eiglash, thank you so much for your insights. Have a good weekend.
People are like, I can't believe that I agree with Jake Tapper, but he's 100% correct. See? I mean, I think no matter what channel you go to, everyone's pretty much of the same mindset. See if there's anything new from inside the courtroom. As of 37 minutes ago, the judge said to the attorneys, I may call you back in. We've heard nothing since. So 37 minutes ago, they went back out. Let's see what it's 11:25 here in New York. I don't know what time they have lunch. But I didn't think it would take this long for the jury to come back. And I'm curious as to whether if they come back with another note that says we're hung again, if he can read them a second Allen charge. I don't know. I don't know about that. But for those of you who are just joining, here's what's happened so far this morning in the Daniel Penny deliberations. As of 10:03 a.m., the judge came into the courtroom in his robe. The court officer said, come to order. Counsel, have a seat. The ADA, Daphne Yoren, was standing in the gallery. She looked up and said, oh, okay. She went to the prosecution table. Daniel Penny and his lawyers had yet to come in. Then they entered the courtroom, Daniel Penny and his attorneys. The judge said, there's been a communication since the last time we were in session. On Friday, I added an instruction to the jury after saying to consider count 2. I've thought more. The court concluded it would be lawful. Judge said, meanwhile, the defense said it wants more instructions. Penny's lawyer, Tom Kenneth, says, we are moving for a mistrial. We are not going along. We add that the court never ascertained if they were hung on justification, though it can be inferred. Judge Wiley said, I deny your motion for a mistrial. The jurors can continue their deliberations. Whenever they are ready for us, we are ready. Jury entering. Judge Wiley said, I wanted to tell you the court has no role at all in your deliberations. It would be improper. So continue deliberating. Jury exited. At that point, as of 10:27 a.m., that was an hour ago. Then at 10:27 a.m., Daniel Penny and his lawyers have come back up, this time before the ADA. The judge did not take the bench yet. Then the ADA came in and the judge came in. Come to order. Judge said, does the defense want to go on the record? Penny's lawyer, Tom Kenneth, said, when we retired to the anteroom, there are audible chants. I would like these videos from my cell phone to be made part of the record. So he took video of the people chanting outside the courtroom, outside the courthouse. And remember, they're on the 13th floor at 100 Center Street. They're at the 13th floor. I'm sorry, what? Mary Jane says, oh, so you're a Fox News watcher. I'm out of here. This has nothing to do with race. Mary Jane, I played Fox News and then I played CNN, but bye. It's beyond. It's beyond. Penny's lawyer, Tom Kenneth, said the chants are, and here are the chants that they could hear from the 13th floor outside the courtroom from people who are on the ground. The chants are Daniel Penny, subway strangler, and if we don't get no justice, they don't get no peace, which we take as a threat against the jurors. The press conference outside on the court Friday said the same. Circus-like is not okay. This is argument to the judge, and the ADA, Daphne Yoren, chimes in. I've only heard justice for Jordan Neely, not threats. The man with bullpen is gone now. I think she meant bullhorn. There are numerous threats from the other side during this trial. If you view the press conference, look at the threats about if Mr. Penny is found guilty. Judge Wiley said, well, I saw a pro-Penny bullpen this morning, but it's true the anti-Penny chanting went on longer today than usual into jury deliberations. Put your video in on a flash drive. Talking to Daniel Penny's attorney. But Ms. Yoren is right. There has been unfair shade thrown on the DA and the ADA, said the judge. Then the judge said, I deny the motion for a mistrial. If they ask, I could try to find a jury room where they couldn't hear it, but I'm not sure I could find one. I could bring them out now and ask. And then ADA Yoren says, it's moot. If it starts again, and then the chanting started again. Penny's lawyer, Tom Kenneth, said, the ADA has some control over the protesters. Judge Wiley said, stop that, Mr. Kenneth. I've addressed. And then ADA Yoren said, he brought up the press conference. Kenneth said, it was a press conference by the lawyers representing Mr. Neely. Let me finish. Judge Wiley said, do you want me to bring the jurors in and ask them if they want to move rooms? And Daniel Penny lawyers, Tom Kenneth, said, let me check with Mr. Razor. Steve Razor is his partner. Unfortunately, Kenneth said that would only compound the problem. And then the judge said, I may call you back in. And then, as of 11:22 a.m., it is now 11:30, ADA, Daphne Yoren, has come back into the courtroom. She's walking around whispering into her cell phone, now goes back out into the hallway, still no sign of Daniel Penny or his lawyers. So something may be about to happen. Oh, wow. Okay. Now Daniel Penny and his lawyer come in, then Judge Wiley through the side door. They sent a note out. Jury sent the note out. We, the jury, have come to a unanimous verdict on count 2. Okay, here we go. Here we go, my friends. They've come to a unanimous verdict on count 2. And here we sit, and we're going to wait for it. Jury has just reached a verdict on count 2. Not guilty. Not guilty. It's not guilty. Daniel Penny has been found not guilty, my friends. Today is a great day for justice. Here we go. We're going to go to Fox Live because they're the only ones streaming live. We're the only streaming live. Not guilty. Not guilty. Praise be, everyone. Praise be. Daniel Penny is not guilty. They've got cameras set up for a presser outside, so let's take a look. Are they not going to that live yet? Guilty.
Live looks right here outside of the courthouse. We are going to probably be seeing Daniel Penny pretty soon here. Maybe his lawyers will be speaking. On Friday, we did see some people speaking out, especially from Black Lives Matter, who were very, very upset on Friday evening and were making that known. But now we are going to see possibly Daniel Penny coming out here pretty soon with his
what a great day for justice, New York City.
In right now, and we have this shot right outside of the courthouse. Awaiting Daniel Penny and his lawyers to come outside.
We're waiting. We're waiting. Today's a great day for justice, my friends. A great day for justice. Thanks, Michelle, for the 20. Says, can the first charge that was dismissed, the manslaughter, be brought again by the prosecution? No.
Everyone, we are continuing to follow here. So what we are going to do is double box that for you, so you can see right in the hallway of that shot here. So we are going to give you 2 vantage points right now from outside and also inside right now, as we are seeing now more of a police presence outside of that courthouse right here. So
they better. I'm sure they are fully staffed outside the courthouse, right?
We got the double box now coming through. We will provide that to you right here on Live Now from Fox. There we go. Live look right now. So
Thank you,
you
Pants
are
Maestro.
seeing more of that police presence of the news that Daniel Penny has just been acquitted in his trial here. And we are going to be waiting
Great
to
news.
see who is going to be coming
Thanks,
up
Julie.
to the podium as well right here. In just a
Julie
little
says-
bit, we are going to be talking to a friend here of Live Now from Fox, Jeremy Rosenthal, attorney and legal analyst, will be here.
We're waiting for the press conference to happen outside 100 Center Street in Manhattan, where Daniel Penny has finally been found not guilty, acquitted of all charges. The ADA had dismissed the initial charge of manslaughter on Friday. The jury was sent back to try and reach a verdict only on criminally negligent homicide. They did reach a verdict about within the last 10 minutes, not guilty.
Over the weekend, and it sounds like it's pretty interesting because they were deadlocked on the more difficult charge, telling us that there were people in that room who were pro guilty verdict and pro not guilty verdict on the higher charge. Once that higher charge went away, you would think that those guilty votes would not have gone away, but apparently they were not as dug in, apparently, or they had some extra thoughts about it over the weekend. In any event, a good day for Daniel Penny.
Yeah, especially
Good day for everyone. It's a good day for justice.
Of how it all went down on Friday, where it was
Thanks,
thrown
Nina.
out because the jury just could not come to a decision here, and ultimately that big charge was dropped, and then to hold it out over the weekend, not knowing what that jury was going to do, had to be hard on both sides, really.
Very stressful for sure on the defendant, on the prosecution, on Mr. Neely's family. This is how court goes. This is how trial goes. And a lot of times what I see when juries are deliberating is when you get to the end of a day, a
They're
long
not
day of
gonna be happy.
deliberations, of
Penny's
disagreements.
family.
And in this instance, you get on a Friday, everybody gets a chance to go home, reset. As a lawyer friend of mine calls it, the brain janitor gets to go in the middle of the night and sweep away all the debris and all that stuff. The
What?
jurors wake up the next morning more clear-headed, if you will, and they just come and obviously there was a broad consensus this morning that they didn't have on Friday.
And when will we know just how many, if there was one holdout or multiple holdouts on Friday?
You may never
When does
know.
that
If the
kind
jury
of,
doesn't want to talk, they don't have
information,
to.
come out?
Once the verdicts are read, and then the judge can release the jurors from their service, and that lifts the vow, if you will, of secrecy that they have, and they can talk about what their deliberations were like. So it can be as soon as today. Obviously, I think the press and some of the folks want to respect the jurors' space, privacy, and all that stuff. When you're Mr. Penny, now on the reverse side, had this been a conviction and we learned about something that was weird about the deliberations, Mr. Penny would potentially have the ability to appeal that.
And what does this mean going forward for, a vigilante, somebody that comes, they see a situation that looks to be threatening. What does this mean going forward to someone that says, you know what, I saw the Daniel Penny case. I feel like I can act and help maybe save others in a train, in a public space. What does this mean going forward?
Well, it's certainly, I would think, good news from that standpoint from folks who see it that way.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you won't be charged.
And again, this case has been a
That's the
flashpoint
problem.
for a lot of reasons because there's just so much to unpack in this case. You've got homeless. This case, sort of that snowflake that kind of has it all. And in this instance, I don't know that somebody who is faced with that issue on a New York subway, maybe this verdict is going through their mind.
Shout out to Jane Rosenberg, the amazing court sketch artist, for sketching this trial for us since we could not be inside that courtroom, and also to Inner City Press on Twitter for live tweeting from the courtroom because there were no cameras in the courtroom. We're still waiting.
Maybe it's not. If it is, then
presser.
maybe they do feel. On the flip side, I mean, you just have to remember that these cases get to be so fact specific, and that there will never truly be an identical case to this, and any one of those little factors can turn the whole thing.
I'm also interested, now obviously Daniel Penny walking free, walking home here. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be Daniel Penny. And anytime someone Googles you, whatever you want to do in your life, he has a full life ahead of him. He's only 26,
Yeah,
27. So what happens
Blah,
and how
blah,
does he
blah, blah. I'm
navigate?
going to mute them until they show us the oppressor outside. There's really no one else covering this live, so we don't have a lot of options. Let's go to the chat. Bragg helped, not hurt. Dershowitz is a Bragg hater. Thank you, Sharon, for your super chat. KPAC says, great coverage as a lifelong New Yorker who left for Florida. I'm shocked that a New York jury made the right choice. Thank you, jurors. Thank you, KPAC. Hey, Miracle Mama says, it's a win for being a good Samaritan. Thank you, New York. Love you, Melanie. Love you right back. Although, again, he was charged. Like, that's still an issue, in my opinion. Mouse, and happy birthday to you. Two wins in a row. Yeah, after the Brian Camp acquittal, this is like the icing on the cupcake, my friends. The icing on the cupcake. Duncan Idaho said, this guy should be charged too for those glasses. Oh, I love it when you guys make me laugh. Duncan also says, thanks for the 10. New York says no to remember to take public transportation to save the planet. Also, be sure to just keep your eyes on the floor during your ride and pray that the violent tweakers don't single you out. Well said, Duncan. Well said. Thank you, Deanne, for thanking me. We're still waiting for the presser to happen, so everyone hang tight. They've got a talking head on, but they're going to cut to the presser as soon as it happens. Thank you, Deanne, for thanking me.
Right now, on Live Now from Fox, we do have Fox 5 New York breaking into their broadcast. So, looks like maybe they just dropped right there. But let's go out right now outside of the courtroom here on Live Now.
It was hard for me to wrap my head around any juror who originally was thinking the defendant was guilty on the more serious would turn around and acquit on the less serious. But this is a tricky case. Yeah. It's a tricky case. It's a case where both sides agreed that Mr. Penny was a good man.
Yeah, I can't believe you out here laughing and shit. You out here laughing.
Oh, hot mic moment. Can't believe you out here laughing and it's HID. Oh, and then they just muted the sound because they had a hot mic moment over there.
And therefore, the idea that this case was brought to begin with.
Can you hear them on the bullhorn saying dirty judge, dirty judge?
The jury tremendous
Dirty judge, dirty judge. You hear them chanting on the bullhorn? A win for Lady Justice. Thanks, Josephine.
credit for their courage.
And Judge, that was brought up today in the courtroom, these protesters, more on the side of the pro-Jordan Neely protesters. The defense came up to the judge. Talk about that exchange. We heard it was a heated exchange to quiet down these protesters because of all the windows that are open in the courtroom. We didn't realize how many windows were actually open.
The defense was rightly concerned that
protesters because of all the windows that are open in the courtroom. We didn't realize how many windows were actually open.
The defense was rightly concerned that, hearing these kinds of protesters, apparently saying some horrible things about
And they're still saying them. And she's like, you got to cut the audio. I do remember the Guardian Angels.
All right, we're going to get checked back in with our team there down at the courthouse. But right now, we're going to check in with Imran Ansari, who has a very gifted legal mind following this issue, as you can see, contested in your hearing there outside the courthouse. Imran, I want to ask you a couple questions, though, because as you heard Judge Grasso talk about the fact that they said no to manslaughter, but now we're also saying no to criminally negligent homicide. There was a hung jury on Friday. What happened in the span of a couple days to make them all say, we're going to decide on a not guilty verdict?
Yeah, man, I think it was an interesting move first. Let's take the first step by the prosecution, moving to dismiss that manslaughter charge. That, of course, paved the way for the prosecution to keep proceeding with the case without a hung jury. And now the jury
this is Dante Mills
this morning coming back with the acquittal on criminally negligent.
This is Dante Mills. He's the civil attorney for the family.
Charge. And
on the left.
He hung this count, the criminally negligent homicide count that he was just acquitted on, would be the sticking point for that jury, or they would come to a consensus, and they came to a consensus here with an acquittal. This case, you hear it outside the courthouse there. And you probably heard it within that deliberation room. That was a divided jury, at least on that top count. But when they sat down this morning, they considered the charge and the law as to criminally negligent homicide. Clearly, they were able to have a meeting of the minds and come back with this unanimous decision. Of course, I think this is not the end of us hearing about this case because it's divided the city in many ways. And it's going to be interesting to see how we move forward with all the issues that this case raised. Mental health awareness, the city's ability to treat people who are homeless and suffering from mental health, and also the crime in the city and the things that we face every day as New Yorkers when we ride the subway and we are encountering people on the subway who may be sick, who may be having some issues, but of course the crime. And we had horrible stabbing from someone who is suffering from mental health illness with innocent
I covered
lives
that
lost.
November
And I think it's going to
18th.
be something we're going to be
November 18th. Thanks, Romy. I covered this morning. Thank you for your super chat. Karen Reed trial was adjourned until
Get back a look at what the
April Fool's Day.
The city medical examiner's testimony. She reread to them to talk about the fact that part of her testimony included issuing a death certificate without getting a toxicology test result. Was
Yep.
that maybe a tipping point in them concluding?
Yeah, the medical examiner also said he could have had enough fentanyl in his system to kill an elephant, and I still would have said the chokehold caused his death.
right. Was Daniel Penny acting in a reasonable way and did
Morning,
his
everyone. You are watching live now from Fox. So we were listening
man.
to some of Fox 5 New York's coverage, but I do want to go right now out to the Neely family as well as the lawyers speaking right now after this verdict has dropped.
The system to let us know that our lives have value. Jordan Neely was choked to death by someone who didn't care people was telling him to stop. Last week, the jury they couldn't decide on the top charge. They come back this week and they give up on it. The family's hurt. I promised this family that we would get justice. We're still going to do that. We're going to move forward with our suit. The district attorney did a good job, but the jury in this case let us down. So now here's what we have. We have a call to action. Because you have to do something with this anger and with this rage.
You're gonna a call to action?
To take care of each other. We can't rely on outside people. If we see someone asking for food, we have to take the responsibility to give it to them. If we see someone cold,
What if we see someone threatening to kill people? What should we do then?
to give them a coat. If we see someone going through something, to ask them if they're okay. That's how we help each other, because we can't rely on the system to do it for us. And clearly, if we get to this point, it's too late. We have to be there for each other, and that's our call to action. Everybody that's pissed off at this verdict, I challenge you to go outside today and help one person. That's my challenge. If you're angry, if you're hurt, go help one person. That's how we beat the system. That's how we turn this around, by being there for each other.
I just want to say, I miss my son. My son didn't have to go through this.
We can't hear him over the chanting, so it's not us, it's them.
It hurts. Really, really hurts. What are we going to do, people? What's going to happen to us now?
Can't get live captions either.
Had enough of this. The system is big. Come on, people. Come on, people. Let's do something about this.
Let's do something about it. Too often, we have Eric Garner's mother here.
Oh boy.
There's too often this is happening, where we're left alone in this society. We got to stop that. We have to change how we impact each other. Jordan came on,
Look how big the family is. Why didn't they help him then, Dante?
and he was killed. And the person who killed him was not held responsible. We cannot allow this to keep happening.
No, they can't recharge him on the manslaughter. That was done.
Look like the police are attacking protesters.
Double jeopardy. You can't retry him. No.
Good morning, everyone. Here we stand once again in front of this unjust system. I stood here 10 years ago because they did not give justice to my son with the chokehold. I fought hard to get the
Completely different
anti-chokehold bill
case.
passed, which did pass. But it shouldn't only be for police officers, it should be for civilians also. No one deserves to be choked to death. No one. And you know, we're in that courtroom and people are cheering for the verdict. They made the loudest noise. The judge did.
Two things can coexist. People can feel deep grief that Jordan Neely is dead and feel great sympathy for his family, and also feel at the same time that Daniel Penny was a hero and saved a lot of lives that day. Two things can coexist.
They want you to do. They want to discourage you. Just like they tried to discourage
It is
me.
sad
But
that
10
he
years
died. Very
later, I'm
sad.
still fighting. And I'm not only fighting for myself, I'm fighting for families like yourself. That's why I have to come out when this injustice is done. If this had been the other way, if your family had murdered this so-called innocent guy now, it would have been a different story. He would have been in jail or would have never came out. But they don't do the same to us. It's two justice systems. You know that. And we have to stop this. And the only way that we can stop it is to stand together. Those of us who are against what happened, we have to speak up. We can't treat this just like another news story, not another press conference. We have to speak up, and stand up. So I just say today, we did not get justice once again. And I am saddened. I am truly saddened by the situation because it keeps on happening and no one is standing accountable for their actions. So that means that any civilian could get on the train if they feel threatened and they could choke someone out and they're going to get found not guilty, just like today.
Only if they're in fear for their lives and they're acting in defense of themselves and or other people. Where are Daniel Penny's lawyers? Because that's who I want to see, or perhaps the ADA.
Right on. Thanks for meeting me on this.
Thanks, Michelle, for becoming a member.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
All right,
Oh,
we just
you're like,
heard
no, we're not doing
the
this.
Daniel Penny acquitted in subway
Come
choking.
here.
Homeless man, the press conference.
Discipline. You've shown strength.
You're like, cut that camera.
You've shown love. You've shown how
Thanks, Laura.
to carry yourself with composure when you're facing this machine, this American judicial system that cannibalizes our people. But I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to say it loud and clear. Let the marchers march and let the steppers step. Let the marchers march and let the...
Is this the guy that we watched before? Is this the, I was going to say Gavin Newsom. Hawk Newsom, is this the BLM co-founder with a Yankee hat on? Desert Quill says, I'm so relieved for him, and I'm sure he'll be deep in debt for years and years because of this wrongful charge. Actually, his GoFundMe for his legal fees raised over $3 million, so I hope not.
other group except for the very people that built this country.
Say it.
Every group that comes here gets privileges, gets benefits, except for the very people whose fingerprints are on the bricks that built this country. There is no love for black people.
That's not true. There's a lot of black people who feel that Daniel Penny was justified in what he did, sir. I'm sorry to tell you.
That have no moral code. How can you preach love to racists? That got Dr. King killed. How can you promote love to a nation that is built on theft and genocide.
That's right.
What we preach is unity, Black unity. Stop begging this system to justify our lives. Stop begging this system for justice. When things happen to you, you step up and defend yourself. Just like everybody else seeks justice on their own, just like everybody else has vigilantes.
This is, you know, this is a presser that was caused by Dante Mills, who is the civil lawyer for the family and their, you know, wrongful death lawsuit against Daniel Penny. He called this presser and he's got all these people there, and this could be considered insightful, inciting a riot. I don't know. Can we maybe see the attorneys talk about the win? I don't think Daniel Penny's going to speak. And actually, quite frankly, if these people are out there commandeering the press, I don't know if they're going to come out. But if you're just joining, Daniel Penny was acquitted today on the second count, which was the only count they were to consider after they were hung on count one, which was manslaughter carrying up to 15 years in prison. Today they went in and they acquitted him on criminally negligent homicide, which would have carried it up to 4 years in prison. I'm going to just take that off full screen until we can maybe, hopefully, get some attorneys out there to speak instead of being yelled at. Thanks, Michelle, for becoming a new member. Yeah, Duckgate was dismissed this morning. I think all charges were dismissed except for littering and Richard Schiffer. We're going to have to talk about that later when we're on a stream for that topic. Please look up Jordan Williams' New York 2023 case. All right, I'll take on that homework assignment. I'll take that under advisement. Thank you very much. Kyle says, thanks for the 5. Twain, maybe when in doubt, attribute Twain or Franklin. If Penny had been applying a choke, carotid, it'd end in seconds, not minutes. Yeah. A lot of questions with regard to cause of death, if you ask me. Cynthia, thanks for the super sticker. KLM, Karen reposted an update too. Yeah, we covered that earlier. Thank you. That is going to, that trial has been adjourned by the judge until at least April. Love is a 4-letter word. Thanks for the 10. Thanks for always sticking your neck out for what matters. No fear. Thank you so very much for your compliments. Tough tip. BLM Newsom said it's a small world, buddy. Thank you, Tough Tiff, for your super chat. They couldn't be bothered with him in life, but now want to sue, says Navy Bet. For the love for the broken. Thank you for the 5. Has New York City become more dangerous again? Thoughts? I don't know, Nina. I want to wait and see what happens. Wasn't feeling great about being on the subways after the panty, but it started to feel okay again recently, but I don't know.
Of Daniel Penny. We'll continue to keep an eye on this for you all right here on Live Now from Fox, but we do have some breaking news again. So it's back-to-back breaking news that we are bringing to you in connection to the CEO murder
pivoting
of the United Healthcare CEO. A person has been taken into custody in Altoona, Pennsylvania, in connection. So this is what police are saying. A source with knowledge of the investigation into the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson told Fox News that a person fitting the suspect's description has been taken into custody at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania.
McDonald's in
The person
Pennsylvania.
has a similar gun to the one used in the shooting last Wednesday, the source added. Police tell Fox News that a person at the McDonald's recognized the individual from the wanted posters of the suspect and then alerted law enforcement.
But I wonder
police
if that's
arrived,
really
they
him.
spotted the person and found a weapon believed to be the one used in the murder here. So obviously this investigation has hit its 6th day as that manhunt continues. The city in Pennsylvania was Altoona. It's a city located about 100 miles east of Pittsburgh. Thompson died last Wednesday after being shot outside of a hotel in New York City. The suspect in the shooting was last seen at a bus station in Upper Manhattan. So again, we are following back-to-back breaking news for you on Live Now from Fox
Well,
Earlier
yeah,
today,
that's what we do, sir. We
police
pivot. We know how to do this.
NYPD
We're pretty good at this.
detectives were
Altoona,
once again
Pennsylvania.
in the area of Central Park looking
Another
for
win for
clues.
McDonald's.
Remember on Friday, they found a bag that contained was
Yeah, that
from
bag was
the
totally left there
suspect
on
there.
purpose,
And
by the
inside
way,
that bag was
with the Monopoly money in it, don't you think?
Many sources believe and experts believe that had something to do with trying to egg on the police and the investigation. But again, we are learning of this breaking news. A person has been taken into custody, matching the description of the suspect as it entered its 6th day. So we got a lot of moving parts here with this story. The news broke, of course, on December 4th when Thompson was shot outside of the hotel in Manhattan, and that really stepped up security not only for United Healthcare employees, but also other insurance carriers, not knowing what the full scope of this shooting was. But of course, NYPD coming
Well done,
from the
dirt
very
cheap.
beginning,
A
saying
very
it was
happy
a
meal.
targeted attack.
Listen,
and now we wait for more.
They stopped a train
information
the
from
other day in Bridgeport,
Pennsylvania
Connecticut, because someone
authorities
thought
as
they saw him on the train. So, you know, I don't know. Do you think they really caught the guy at McDonald's? Come on.
Gate as well. So we will continue to monitor that one here for you. All right here on Live Now from Fox. We do want to take another 2-minute break. Stay right here with us as we continue
All the
to
things
update
and
you
stuff
on
going
the
on
Daniel
today.
Penny
I mean,
news,
wow.
as well as the CEO shooting suspect right here on Live Now.
All right, now we're going back to the press conference where they're walking away.
My name is Rev Ram McHenry. I'm with the National Action Network. We are outraged by this verdict that
We
was
are
heard today.
outraged. They stole our line. We are outraged
understand
about Karen
that
Reed.
Daniel Penny jumped on the train and choked out Jordan Neely. We understand that he was homeless. We understand that he cried out for food. But if we allow for regular citizens,
He also
choke
cried out
out
that he was going to
anybody on
kill
a train
everyone and
just
didn't care if
because
he
they
went back
feel
to Rikers
uncomfortable,
today.
then what sort of precedent are we setting for the rest of America?
And he also had a warrant
We
out for
cannot
assaulting a woman on
allow
a
for
subway
people to be lynched
where he was
in
let
this
out
age. We cannot
on
not
no
allow
bail.
for an era of injustice to continue, even though this verdict did not.
It looks like everybody walked away, except all the mics are still there. Yeah, the McRib is still available for a limited time, you guys. So you got to do what you got to do. And maybe that is why the assassin of Brian R. Thompson of the CEO of United Healthcare, maybe that's why the assassin was at the, as such, McDonald's, because he was going for the McRib. He couldn't let the McRib go by. The verdict was not guilty. Scrolling along the bottom for you. They're still talking. We're waiting for the attorneys. Look, I can't help who gets up. But I'm sure that the press is not very happy either. They're like, okay, can we talk to Mr. Kenneth and Mr. Razor? Are we gonna, what is it that you say you do here? And now did they just cut their coverage on this? I had to pivot to a different channel. Now we're going to have to pivot to here, back to Inner City Press, who did capture some live footage outside the courtroom as soon as he came out of court, right after the verdict was read. Let's check this out. Give Inner City Press a follow on Twitter if you're on that cesspool. This is his raw footage from after the verdict, right when he came out of the courthouse.
road number 11. Close on that one. So
That was the scene outside the courthouse.
I'm not proud of my notes here. I got time. It's a book. I got time. I was like, I noticed the small. The first time I the entire trial. I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, I'm gonna have to eventually.
Like the insight into the state of mind.
Agreed. Thanks, Stephanie. I would like to see someone make a statement. They've still got the mics up.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You can take the whole thing off. Nice thing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Storm Dancer. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, Kyle. I might have better luck having the Penny team coming on my YouTube channel than leaving the comfort of my warm house and going down there in the freezing cold, but it's a great idea. Because it doesn't seem like anybody else wants to talk to them because they haven't come out. Back to here.
All right, to some more following breaking news now on the CEO shooter manhunt. Now, sources say a man has been taken in for questioning in Altoona, Pennsylvania. He was said to be carrying a gun similar to the one used in that shooting. This comes as NYPD divers back in Central Park today. They're searching the lake near the Bethesda Fountain for a
Searching
second
the
day
pond
in a
in
row.
Central Park.
The suspect's backpack was found inside of that park. And the last official sighting of the suspect was on December 4th, the day of the killing, near the George Washington Bridge and the bus terminal where he
That's
is
what we're waiting
believed to
for.
have left the city. And more of our breaking news
All right,
coverage.
so that was the Fox 5 coverage right here on Live Now from Fox. We wanted to make sure that we brought that to your attention. Of course, that big news coming, though, really two major stories out of
This is outside the courthouse, and there's just some mic stands that are just kind of waiting. They're still waiting. This guy's like taking his mic away. He's like, really? Is nobody going to talk? Let's go to the chat. Hissy Fits, thanks for the 10. The one thing I agree with is that the family does need justice. They should be going after the fentanyl dealer that sold him the drugs, not the subway rider that had to deal with the fallout. Thank you for your thoughts. Hissy Fits, K. Schmidt. The system failed their brother. Penny acted on instinct to protect fellow passengers. Thank you for your 10. I think a lot of people in this chat feel the same way that you do. Don't get why this is the hill BLM wants to die on, says Fancy RPG from Canada. Thank you so much. Storm Dancer says an eye for an eye only ends up making the whole world blind. Coming in hot with the Gandhi quote. Thank you, Storm Dancer, for your super chat. Appreciate you as always. And Mark Betterow was texting me earlier. Daniel Penny guilty. I'm like, we're on it. We're on it. We're here. We're here with it live. Thanks, Mark Betterow, for your not super chat, but your text message telling me the verdict. I appreciate you. I don't think he was in the courthouse today, though. Thank you for the anonymous matcha latte. I appreciate you so very much. There's not enough caffeine today. I don't know. I don't know that anybody's going to come and speak, and I'm kind of like upset about it. What say you? I'm actually scared for Daniel's safety, says Virginia. Thank you, Noni. Thank you, Noni's Treasure House. Yeah, little Miss Red Velvet. Good morning. If there was ever a time for out the back door, you know, like you do, went on a bad date. She says, knowingly, probably not safe for them to speak. I think you might be right. Bottom line, if any of us was on that subway, we'd be thanking God that Daniel Penny was there. I agree. They're taking their mics down like this is a wrap, my friends. They do have a way out the back door, like they do for the jurors. Yep. And I'm sure the attorneys went out the back door as well. I'm sure they went out the back door as well. And that is where we stand, my friends. Daniel Penny has been acquitted today of the second count, which was the only remaining count today, criminally negligent homicide. It has been my pleasure to spend the morning with you. I do not think, I'll keep it up for another second or two, but I don't think they're coming out. Let me see if Intercity Press has said anything more. No, he posted what we just watched. It was Dante Mills and some of the BLM people doing their press conference. But let's go here. And his breakdown of what happened inside the courtroom. And this was, what time? 11:34 a.m. Jury entering. Clerk, how do you find Mr. Daniel? How do you find on Daniel Penny count 2? 4-person, not guilty. Oops. Come on, man. Hold on. Hold, please. How do you find on Daniel Penny count 2? 4-person, not guilty. From Penny said, applause. Judge, be quiet. From Penny's side, I think that should say. There was applause from Penny's side in the courtroom. As I described to you the day that I was in court, it's kind of like a wedding. Like the Daniel Penny side was the left side of the courtroom. Jordan Neely side was the right side of the courtroom. That's where his friends and family were situated. And it's like church pew seating. There's like 6 rows on either side, very long rows. Judge said, be quiet. From the Neely side, gonna be killed. Judge said, out, kicked someone out. From Penny's side, it's a small world, buddy. Or from Neely's side, it's a small world, buddy. It's a racist country. Okay, that's a little disturbing. Hissy Feds, thank you for the Canadian 100. Thank you so much. I'm clean today because my parents made me move in with them, hid my keys and debit cards, and if my mom could have handcuffed me to my bed, she would have. It was horrible. I would lie and steal from them, but they never gave up. That's how family members get clean. Thank you so much, Hissy Fits, for sharing your story and for letting people who don't know. Congratulations on your sobriety. That's amazing. And that's it. That is where his tweets end. Except for the additional video that we just looked at a little while ago. Thank you to the moderators for keeping it classy today. I think it was rough in here at points. I would love it if every single one of you would smash the like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you'll know when I go live, which may be very shortly from now. Hi, Nina. Can you explain from your experience how can they be hung on count 1 but not guilty on count 2? It's great, but somehow it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense to me either. I talked about this at the top of show, but we're never going to know what went on inside that jury room unless and if one of the jurors decides to speak. They have the right to. They don't have to, but they can. And so we don't even know what the split was going from count 1 manslaughter to count 2. We don't know if it was 11-1 not guilty, if it was 6-6, we don't know. Based on how quickly they came back this morning, within 90 minutes, perhaps there was only one holdout. And perhaps that person, it doesn't make sense because if that person wanted guilty on the top charge and then decided on the lesser charge, not guilty, it doesn't make sense to me either. So I can't explain the inner workings of the jury. And I've given up trying to figure out how people think because I've learned it's an exercise in futility most of the time. So you never know what's going on in there. And that's why I tell people sometimes, you don't want to risk it. Sometimes you don't always want to risk it. You don't always want to put your fate in the hands of a jury, whether it be a civil case or a criminal case. It's rough. It's hard. Sometimes a bench trial is a better option, as Mark Betterow and I have discussed many times. Rare Grateful Dead tune, Liberty. Oh, I know Liberty. Thanks, Joseph Kane. Yeah, if I was an eagle, I'd dress like a duck. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Just got here. What happened? Daniel Penny has been acquitted. Daniel Penny has been acquitted. It is a great day for justice between Brian Camp and Daniel Penny back to back. We're winning. I feel like we're winning. We're winning. Justice is winning. I'm going to go live in a little bit with Richard Schiffer and other developments on Karen Reed. I'm going to wait. Yeah, Liberty's a great song, isn't it, Miss Tianetti? Make sure you have the bell set. Make sure you have notifications enabled on your phone. Great day for justice. Daniel Penny is a free man. And we were here to watch it happen together. Thanks, you guys. Thank the moderators. Justice for Karen next. That's all we need. Yeah, it's moved to April. It's moved to April. We're good. We're good. We're going to do another stream. So make sure you have your notifications set. Thank you, everyone. Moderators, you're amazing. Stay cool, stay kind, stay classy, my friends. You can do it. I know you can. Justice is coming for Karen Reed, too. I can feel it. Peace. See you guys in a little bit.